Welcome everyone. So in this video, I've invited JP, who is an expert on building AI systems. He has actually built his AI business to over $5 million in valuation, and he has made over $6 million in profit. What's even crazier is that he has better and more reviews on Google Maps than Alex Hormozia's gym launch. At the end, we'll even do a sales call together, so you know exactly how it's done from the very start to when you first sell your client and actually scale it further. So, JP, what should viewers expect to achieve by the end of this video?
Yeah. So number one, thank you for having me on. And the number one goal would be to give people a roadmap on how to actually go about turning an AI automation business into a scalable business model that they can actually make millions of dollars with based off my proven track record and just based off sharing my journey so that they can get perspective into what that looks like. And if you are technically savvy, or even if you're a complete beginner, but you see the opportunity that AI presents and how it's going to really impact all industries and all aspects of life, that you can then, after watching this, at least have confidence in knowing that you'll have a very good chance of making money and kind of avoid the trial and error that I had to go through to hopefully expedite it for you, right? And then ultimately, you know, what I'm doing with making content and stuff like this, because it's something that I'm totally new to, is I'm just trying to help people have that type of a roadmap with specific things, like when it comes to what to offer, how to sell it, how to provide it, how to really build a scalable business that works independent of you, where you actually have team members, you have AI doing a lot of the work, and you're just focused on scaling the business. So that's what I'm ultimately trying to help people with, because I am interested in eventually selling my business down the line. And what I want to do is be able to give people the opportunity to potentially roll their business up within mine into a portfolio to exit for a much higher multiple. Because like you said, I had recently gotten my business valued and it was worth over $5 million. We've done over $6 million in profit over the last 4 years. And what my broker told me was, hey, if you were able to like roll this up with a bunch of other businesses that were doing, you know, let's say $1 million in profit each, and you were doing over the 5 million mark, you'd be able to get like a 12 to a 20x multiple instead of like a 4.5x multiple just by doing that, right? So that's my mission. That's what I'm fired up about. That's what I'm really excited about. And I just want to give people the opportunity to change their life just like I did with some specific steps.
So I definitely believe that this is a massive opportunity that, you know, I think right now can be replicated across so many industries, but for some reason, not so many people are actually doing this.
Yeah, 100%. And when I got started in this, I had no prior experience in marketing, entrepreneurship, sales, tech, software. I was a complete beginner, and all I really had, like I'm sure maybe you did when you kind of got started, was a drive, you know, a drive and a want to change my life and be able to create a situation where I could take care of, you know, the people that I love and really make a legacy and make my mark, you know, hopefully on the world and help people and ultimately help myself, you know, to change my situation to start having some type of success. Because I was a college dropout, actually, and I kind of got into this through seeing some like social media marketing stuff. And so that's what I originally was really excited about, was just seeing that, you know, Facebook advertising was a really exciting thing back in the day, and it's still super effective. But back in the day, you know, a ton of local business owners, instead of doing TV, instead of doing radio, they had the opportunity to pay very, very little money for Facebook and social media advertising, and they had absolutely no idea how to do it, right? And so I saw that as a great opportunity, where if I could learn that and then help them, that I'd be able to have a ton of success, because it's never been easier than ever before, right? Like it was way more difficult when I got started because none of this technology existed. But now it's never been easier, and it's never been easier to make profit because of AI and automations. But when I got started, that was a big bottleneck. And so what I ended up doing, thankfully, because I actually found a mentor by the name of Rob Bailey. And he was one of the first people to use Go High Level at the time, which is a software that enables a lot of different automations and now has a lot of different integrations for AI and automated services, right? So just by doing that, which was very, very unique at the time, because at the time, people were just running advertising for these businesses And they weren't doing anything else other than that. And so simply by me doing that and automating that lead nurturing process, I was able to scale my business from 3K a month to over 70K a month in 6 months. And it wasn't because I was like an expert marketer or doing anything special. It was literally just because I took a new technology and I took already existing demand within the market where people were already paying for Facebook advertising. I did that, potentially did it worse than other people because I was brand new to it. But since I followed up with the leads using new technology and then I re-engaged their old leads, I was able to get them atypical results. That's ultimately what happened for me when I was only 21, as my business grew exponentially right before COVID. And then COVID ended up happening and obviously the world kind of changed, but it really didn't impact my business that much because I took something that people were already paying for and I just improved it. I just innovated on it. And I share that just to say there's so many different services out there that all of these businesses are paying for, right? Gyms, real estate agents, roofers, dentists, chiropractors, med spas, plumbers, HVAC, contractors, like the list goes on. There's millions and millions of businesses that pay for a lot of these different services, which are now able to be automated leveraging AI and softwares. And because of that, that means that there's a big opportunity for people to just do what I did back in the day, which was take something people were already paying for and then automate certain aspects of it to generate the customer atypical results, right? You're just taking a proven product and you're innovating on it. And there's new technology now, just like the platform that you're building, right? That's going to enable people to do so many different amazing things and automate so many different things with AI all within one place, that we're in that transitional phase right now where these businesses are kind of aware of it. They're maybe a little bit skeptical. They're maybe a little bit unsure, but all it takes is someone like you, someone like me, someone that just has the drive to really make an impact on the world, that's willing to put the work in to take these tools, understand how to leverage them, and then take what people are already paying for, integrate these tools into that core service and just make it better than what other people are currently offering. And that's all I did.
So we'll get to the roadmap in just a few minutes, but first I just want to, get some of your background. And so how did you go from automation to AI systems?
Yeah, great question. So kind of a funny story. So I was at a business conference and I had my booth set up for my business, where people could come talk to me. And then I had my booth set up to another group. And all they would do as far as the service they were providing is they were helping their clients generate reviews, leveraging an AI tool that would reach out to people and ask them for reviews and then respond to people's reviews on Google once they left them. And that was it. And so I got talking to them about that. And I was like, how are you guys doing this? And so they showed me how they were doing it. And so what I ended up doing was we took that service and we started offering it and leveraging AI. And then on top of that, we were able to set up a voice AI agent that answers the phone at gyms when the staff and the owner doesn't answer. And then what we found was once we hooked up a call service to see how many calls these gyms were missing, we found that they were missing between like 60 to 80% of calls from potential customers and active customers. And so what we then did was build an AI agent that could answer the phone if the staff didn't answer at all hours of the day, to then book appointments through the AI agent. And then once the appointment's scheduled, we then nurture that lead to get them to show up via text. And then we ask them for a review after they come in. And then if they leave a review, we ask them for a referral. So with AI, we've been able to build this system and cycle that's really a repetitive process that it just eliminates the business owner and their staff from a lot of things that they need to be doing, but they typically miss.
So it sounds like you have a very comprehensive solution where there are many components and many different processes that are being automated. So can you tell us what's your tech stack today? Like which platforms are you using for which specific components?
Yeah, so what we use is Go High Level. And so Go High Level is the main CRM. So that's what we use. The end user, all our customers have their own Go High Level sub account. And then what we do within Go High Level is we set up automations. We plug in Synthflow, which is where our AI agent is built on. And then we also use CloseBot, which nurtures the leads. So when people come in via text, that's what's nurturing the leads. And then we use Zapier to really connect all of this stuff so that it works together and everything's connected properly. And then within that, what we have in Go High Level is we have a dashboard that tracks all of the different services so that the end user can actually see the benefit of those. So when it comes to running ads and nurturing leads, they can see how many leads they've generated, how many appointments have been booked, how many appointments have showed up, how many people they've signed up. When it comes to the reviews, they can see how many people have left a review, how many people said something negative, because we don't ask them for a review unless they said they've had a good experience. And by doing that, we only generate positive reviews. Right? So we're also able to get people's negative feedback, which helps the staff and the owner to see what's not going well. And then we also have a section that shows how many referrals have been generated. And then we show appointments booked off those referrals, appointments showed up, and then sales. And then we have the same thing for the AI agent that answers the phone, so that it can see how many calls came in, how many calls it actually handled, how many appointments it booked, how many people actually showed up for that appointment. And it really kind of does all of that. So it really shows them that top to bottom process so that they can actually see the value, in the service that we're ultimately providing them with.
So is there like a demo or like a process diagram that we can see right now, just so we can see like how all of these components connect together?
Yeah, so what I can show you is really just like how this all kind of looks. But really what this is ultimately like all of the different services that we offer as a company. And so, like I was saying earlier, a lot of different agencies out there, they will provide maybe one or two of these different things. But what we do is we provide all of them. And because we provide all of them, ultimately what it makes us be is a much more competitive option compared to everyone else. Because not only are we running paid advertising for them and then nurturing those leads, but we're also following up with customers to generate reviews and referrals. We're re-engaging old customers for the staff and for the owner so that they don't have to get people through the door without spending money on marketing. And then we're also even consulting the client on how to actually sell the people that we bring through their door. Because once we get people in, if the customer can't close them, that's a bad situation, right? So not only do we generate appointments for these customers, but we also show them how to actually convert them, which is very important. And then we set up an AI receptionist, that's what we call it, where the phone will ring for 10 seconds naturally at the gym. And if nobody picks it up, the AI receptionist will answer the phone for them and then schedule the appointment. And then we nurture that appointment through texting on Go High Level to get them to show up for their appointment. And then all the customer has to do is mark it as a sale or not. And ultimately, what this does is it makes it so that the whole is a lot stronger than the sum of its parts. Because this is a whole system that works hand in hand. It's structured in a sequential way that makes a lot of sense for the customer, where most people will go to businesses and say, let's start running your marketing. We don't do that. We go to a customer and say, let's start re-engaging your old leads with AI and get people through the door so that you can generate capital that you can then take to reinvest into marketing, right? And then while we're doing that, while we're re-engaging these old leads, what we also do is start reaching out to their active customers to generate reviews to make them rank higher organically on Google, but then also make them rank higher on AI, right? On the large language models like ChatGPT, like Grok, all of these different LLMs, so that when people look up gym near me or wherever their town is at on AI, they rank higher. Because one thing that's super interesting is that people are predicting by 2027 that over 40% of the search volume is going to be on AI. It's not going to be on Google, or Yahoo. It's not going to be on those traditional platforms. It's going to be using AI. And so being able to get your business to rank high through AI and organically on Google is very important. So that's what we do, because if they don't rank high and they start running ads, people are going to start looking their business up. And if they don't see their business when they see an ad, or they don't see a bunch of positive reviews, it's going to be a bad look, right? That's going to be a red flag, and it's going to negatively impact them as a business, which is not a good thing, right?
Interesting. Yeah, I totally agree that, AI traffic right now is becoming more and more and like replacing search completely. I've actually also had like many clients ask me on how to actually like rank in ChatGPT. And right now there are like no clear guidelines on this. So I would definitely be curious to learn some of your insights at the end if we have time. But first I wanted to also just get like a clear definition of like what an AI system is, because I see that, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. I understand that, multiple components that connect and interact with each other, they instantly increase the value of your service, which is probably not even like a service by now. It's probably like a product, right? Because it's like a complete solution. So how do you define an AI system? Like 2 or 3 sentences?
Yeah, so rather than just doing one thing, you're leveraging AI to do multiple things, but they all work together to get a better result.
That's a very good definition. I like that. So basically, not just having an automation, not just having like an AI agent, but having all of those components tightly integrated together and working on different parts of the business at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, because if you look at the problem that I'm ultimately solving for businesses, is I'm just making it so like the gap for these businesses, they need leads, they need appointments, and they need these appointments to show up, and they need to ultimately be able to convert these appointments into customers that pay them money, right? So what we're doing is we're just taking the biggest problems they have on the front end of their business, and then we're taking it over for them, leveraging AI to make it so that they don't even have to get involved, right? Because I work with a lot of gym owners, and a lot of personal trainers, they love working with people and helping them get results and then talking with them about why they're the right fit for them. They don't like following up with leads, right? They don't like reaching out to people. They don't like calling people. They don't like doing any of that stuff, but it's absolutely essential for them to have a successful business. They need to do that, right? But a lot of them don't, because they either don't have time or they just really don't like it. And because they don't like it, they don't do a good job of it. And so since we're doing it all for them, really in a system, it just puts them in a position where they get to focus on what they enjoy doing. And then even in addition to that, right, we help them, my business helps them with sales. So for example, like I partnered up with a client of mine that owns 123 gyms.
Oh, wow.
He's one of the largest gym owners in America. And so I partnered up with him so that he could basically give my customers his business model so that the whole AI system we sell yields a much higher return. Because if you can understand the business that your customers are working within very, very deeply from an operational and sales perspective, and you're able to show them the exact process to monetize your system in the best way possible, you're able to build something that gets people really, really great results, right? Because you're able to show them how to actually convert the people. You're also able to show them how to onboard the people and how to retain them at the highest rate possible, and then even how to build their business by hiring and recruiting people.
Yeah, so what you said there about number one, not having to get involved, and also about distribution, I think is super interesting about AI systems, because typically, when you're building like an AI agent or an AI automation, number one, there's always some supervision from the customer required. And number two, it's much harder to distribute them because they're very specific. But your thing, it almost runs like completely separate business.
Exactly. Yeah, and I even pulled this up right here where, like, if you type in best marketing agency for gyms, at least on mine, like, this is my business right here. So, like, AI search, right? Like, this is Gym Members Now. This is my company. And if you look at what it's talking about, you can see that it's very specific to reviews, right? Like, that's the data it's pulling. And these are a couple different companies. You can see Gym Launch, Alex Ramosi, if you guys are familiar with that.
So you rank higher than Harmozy and ChatGPT?
I do.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So like if I go over here now, to my business on Google, you can see, right, like that we're getting tons and tons of reviews and really good reviews, right? Like very, very in-depth reviews from people talking about, what their experience has been like working with my company. And we just have hundreds of them. But then if, let's say, for example, you were to go to, Gym Launch, right? Like they've got some really bad ones. They've got a lot of great ones as well. They're a great company, but you can see here that that's a big thing that these LLMs are pulling, is to find what people are saying and then almost compare them to rank the businesses based on that.
I didn't know that. So they're also like heavily based on the reviews, not just on the search results. That's interesting.
Exactly. And so one thing that we've started doing as well is after we ask somebody for a review on Google, the system then follows up in 30 days to ask for a review on Facebook. And then it follows up in 30 days to ask for a review on Yelp. Because it's pulling from all of these different platforms where it can see positive feedback, and then it's organizing these businesses based off who has the most and who has the best feedback from customers.
Oh, that's actually super interesting. I actually haven't thought about this. That's very smart. Okay, so now let's move on into the roadmap on how someone just getting started can actually do all of these steps by themselves and build their own business just like yours, fully automated in their own niche. So what would be the first step?
Great question. Yeah, so the first step is to pick a business where there's clear product market fit. So what you don't want to do is go into an industry where there are not existing agencies having success. So when I got started, the only reason that I went after gyms was because Alex Hormozi was having a ton of success working with gyms. So when I got into this in 2019, that was the whole reason why. So you want to pick an industry where there are companies doing between $100,000 to $500,000 a month, already being successful, providing some of those services that I just broke down that I provide. Okay. Then from there, once you've done that, what you need to do is find massive networks within these industries that you can penetrate. And when you think of massive networks, what that could look like is franchises, right? So you want to find franchises or consulting groups where there are tons of those customers that within the industry that you're trying to penetrate that you could get access to. Because the reason why my business was able to grow so quick early on from $3,000 a month to $70K a month, like I said, it wasn't because I was great at marketing or anything like that. All I did was I went after a franchise, and there was a guy that was just running advertising for a bunch of these franchises, and then I innovated on the existing demand by following up with the leads and running marketing and re-engaging their old leads. And then I was able to work with one of the most influential guys within that franchise. And so once I started working with him and I was able to get him great results, he told over 200 gym owners to work with me. He even had me come speak on stage in New Orleans at an event he ran in front of 50 gym owners. When I was like 21, I'd only been doing this for less than a year, right? So that's what you want to do first, because you'll be able to create a situation where word of mouth can really take you very, very far, and you're not having to do much marketing. Because if you have people coming to you based off word of mouth, they're going to be very easy to convert. They're going to be great customers, and you're going to make the most amount of money from them, right? Because they're coming from a pre-sold source. They already have proof of concept. They already believe in it, and they ultimately are wanting to get started, right? So if that's really the first thing you want to do, is you want to pick a market where there are proven agencies having success. Then you want to find the people within that market that you could turn into strategic partners that have massive equity and trust with a bunch of other people. Because what you'll find within a lot of these markets is that there's going to be people that a lot of people will go to when it comes to getting advice and guidance. And a lot of these people aren't charging any money for it, right? These are their friends. They're within a franchise, or they're within a network of thousands of people, and they're just one of the best out of all of them. So naturally, people just reach out to them, asking them, hey, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing when it comes to AI? What are you doing when it comes to marketing? What are you doing when it comes to hiring? Right? And so what they're going to tell them is what they're doing. And if you're working with them, getting them great results, they're going to tell them to go work with you. And so if you do that, a lot can change and you can unlock a lot of success, not really being that skilled of an entrepreneur. Because when I first started, I really didn't know what I was doing, right? I was just winging it, trying my best. But because I picked a market, I found the people within that market that were influential. I got them great results, and I turned them into my friends, not my customers. They helped me out more than I could have ever imagined. But with that being said, that's not enough to really take you to the next level, right? You need a service, you need a system of services that really generates atypical results. So if you just take the system of services that I provide and you use your platform, right, once they can provide it all within a centralized place and then probably integrate it into Go High Level, they're going to be able to provide something that a lot of agencies aren't doing. And if they can jump into an industry and work with some very influential people and provide that service, that whole system of AI services, they're going to really wow that person. And what's ultimately going to happen is that person's going to help them grow their business because they're so happy with the results that they've gotten. So once you've done that and you're providing people with a system that's super effective, business becomes a lot easier. But then when it comes to scaling it past the point of over $100,000 a month, what you really want to do is you want to start making partnerships with some of these franchises, like preferred vendor partnerships, where, for example, with my business right now, I am a preferred vendor with a bunch of different franchises. And all that means is they've basically vetted my business, where I've worked with enough of their franchisees and enough of their own customers to say, we give you our stamp of approval and we'll actually promote you to our customers, to our franchisees, to work with you, right? So that gives me a bigger competitive advantage, because I've been validated by the actual corporation and by dozens of other franchisees. Where if you're just getting started and you don't have that, it makes it very difficult for you to compete with me.
Yeah. That's a super cool advice. So like finding a partner who has a network of your target customers, and then through this network, you can like instantly have, enough business to run like $1 million company, like almost instantly, without having to invest pretty much anything on marketing, right?
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And then what you can also do is, like I was talking about, how I have a minority business partner that owns over 100 gyms, right? And so if you can find someone like that and then bring them in some way, you don't even have to trade equity, but you could make a mutually beneficial relationship where they help you to take their system when it comes to running and operating that business, and then you can turn it into a digitized course, right? Or a specific process that you can then share with your customers. You're going to then be able to give them the exact roadmap, the exact process to monetize the system of services that you're selling at the highest rate. And if they're doing that, they're going to then be able to generate a much higher return for what they're paying you, and they're going to stay as customers. Right? So I've been running my business for 6.5 years, and I have customers that have been with us ever since I started.
That's awesome. That's the best, when your business is just marketing itself just because how good it is. Okay, so we found our partner network. We've gotten some clients, or we found like a way to get clients. What's the next step?
Yeah, so once you've done that, what you'll want to start doing is really you want to hire someone to help you with cold calling. So once you're really deep within a network and there's great word of mouth, what that means is a lot of people are familiar with you. And so if you can bring someone on your team, potentially an overseas virtual assistant, that's what we've done, to actually cold call those individuals and then name drop the individual that you're working with right away, you're able to build a ton of trust and authority. And you're just basically reaching out to them saying like, hey, Arseny, this is JP. I've been working with Andy. He owns 100 gyms. I think you've heard of him. He told me to reach out to you because he thought that I could help you with some of the stuff that I've been able to help him with. Would you be open to talking about how I can do that with integrating AI into your business?
Okay.
Right? So once you start doing that, it's very easy to get customers through cold calling. You don't even need to run paid advertising, because a lot of these people have maybe heard about you or considered reaching out to you, but they just haven't pulled the trigger.
But how do you actually build the systems themselves so that, your customers are actually excited about the results, and so that they're bringing you new customers in the first place?
So ultimately, when it comes to like building a business like this, the most important thing is sales and building relationships with those customers. Right? So the first thing that needed to get automated was ultimately reaching out to people to get me appointments where I could actually sell. Right? So having somebody to actually do the cold calling and setting up appointments, that's very, very important. And then from there, bringing somebody on to actually onboard customers to get them set up for success. Right? So bringing on a team member to do that. So once you have that and you're able to just take sales and then check in with customers, you're in a really good position, because you can make sure that the people you're working with are happy. You have someone else responsible for managing their results, and you're able to just check in with them and then obviously sign up new people to set expectations very clear right out the gate for what's to be expected. And then from there, ultimately what you want to do is you want to go take these people out. Like you want to actually go visit these people and take them out to dinner and continue to refine and build that relationship with them. Because if you do that and you really turn them into friends, they're going to be able to help you just grow in ways that you never thought were possible. For example, I've visited people in Vancouver, Canada. I've visited people in North Carolina. I've visited people in Louisiana. I've visited people in Ohio. I've gone all over the country, literally just taking clients out to show them a good time and basically like spend time with them, right? Because if you do that, it's really going to impact, your business a lot. Like if I show you here on the side. I'll just share my screen and just kind of show you what this looks like. But
Okay.
this is something people don't really talk about, but when it comes to providing services to businesses, you really want to like go the extra mile to just show people a really, really good time. So if I go over here to my pictures, like this is me at a corporate event, you know, with a guy that owns like a dozen gyms. And this was actually that event I was talking about where I learned about the reviews service. It's a franchise called Workout Anytime 24/7. And you can see here, like this is me taking clients out to dinner, different states, going to visit them. You know, this is something that really sets you apart as a company if you're actually willing to go and visit those customers and take them out to honestly like post it on the internet to promote it. And this is my business partner that owns over 100 gyms. And this is one of my team members, just doing it all over the place.
I'm also like super curious and like when it comes to actually automating your own service, it seems like you have a super comprehensive solution where you have like, you know, AI calling, AI like lead gen, qualification. I suppose that you haven't built this out all at once, right? It was probably like a long journey to build out all of those components of your AI system. So how did you know like which processes to focus on first, and how did you select the right tech stack for each, and how did you combine it all together?
Yeah, so like I said, when we first started out, all we were doing was Facebook advertising and lead nurturing and then reactivations. And so we were one of the first like 200 people to ever use Go High Level. So when I started my business, that's what we were always using because I was working with that guy, Rob, who immediately gave me his entire process to do that on Go High Level. That's what I was doing. And so since AI wasn't out at the time, we used automations and then actual people to communicate back and forth with the leads on behalf of the customer, right? And so at one point, we had over 12 virtual assistants communicating back and forth with the leads that we were generating for our clients, right? And so since then, we've been able to take that down to 3, where we have AI doing the majority of it, and then we have people managing it to make sure that it's performing the way we want it to be.
That's crazy. So basically you went from having like 12 VAs doing all of the work to just 3 VAs who, instead of actually calling customers, are just maintaining the system.
Exactly.
That's insane.
Yeah, so that was the first thing because that was super important because we were spending like 15 to 20K a month, you know, just on that, just to have a team of people do it, where now we're spending like $3,500, right? So it's not that much money, and that's including the software, right? Like, so that's including people in the software. So it's been reduced by over like 75%. And the goal is to get it to be really, really refined to the point where we just need one person, probably 2 people managing it, you know, all the time, which we'll probably be pretty close to. But then when it comes to generating reviews and referrals, that's fully automated. All we have to do is set it up for the customer and then get access to their list and plug it in. And then the campaign runs on itself. So once it reaches out to people, once people say something positive, it asks for a review. Once people leave a review, it responds to that review on Google for them. Once they respond to that review, we then follow back up with that lead, asking them for a referral. If somebody leaves a referral and sends the link to friends and family, once that referral lead comes through, they automatically get texted, and then the AI goes back and forth with them, where we have a VA managing it. And then as far as the AI agent that actually picks the phone up, that's also fully automated, leveraging AI, where we've refined the whole script, where it's a very straight line to get them to book an appointment. Because with our AI agent, we're just handling conversations with customers that want to become customers. So we're not handling customer inquiries. We're not handling active members. We're just handling prospects that are actually looking to become a customer. So we set up an IVR at the gym on the phone so that when someone calls, it says press 1 if you'd like to become a member, or press 2 if you're already a member, right? And so if they press 1 and the staff doesn't pick it up, our AI agent then answers it and then books them in for an appointment. And we've dialed the process in really, really well. And then we just put any details in the knowledge base for the specific customer, where if they ask any question, it can answer it. And then it just books the appointment in, which is completely handled by AI. We don't even have someone managing that. That's just something that we regularly work on. But that took us we've been working on that for over 14 months, the AI agent that can answer the phone. And within the last 6 months, it's become really good. But it's been a long time coming as far as tweaking it and dialing it in.
Yeah, that's the best thing about AI is like you build something on top of some AI models, and then basically over time as these models become better and better, your system improves as well. And so what I also see in our community is that a lot of people, they kind of get started AI first, meaning that, they don't even like have a business. They maybe like even never ran a business, and then they start like building a similar AI system to yours that automates like real business processes. So today, do you still recommend that people should hire humans first, or do you think it's possible to start from AI directly?
No, so I think it's possible to start directly with AI. So when I started my business, I handled all of the sales, I handled all the client management, and I even handled all the marketing at the time, right? So we had a team of people doing all the lead nurturing. But now with AI, you could do all of that on your own, right? I was able to, on my own, get my business to a $70,000 a month run rate, managing all the clients, setting up their ads, like doing all of that stuff. The only reason why I needed employees was to do the lead nurturing, right? But if you're able to manage that and make sure it's running properly, like I have VAs doing it now, there's no reason for you to hire anyone. It's just a matter of how much work do you want to do, right? Because you're going to have to sell people. Like to have a business, you have to actually sell people into your service. You have to manage them, right? You have to onboard them. You have to make sure that they're happy and stay checked in with them to manage their emotions and manage their expectations, and you have to scale the business. So I don't think if I had done this all over again with the technology that's out now, I don't think I would have needed to hire anyone. Like I think I would have been making a ton of profit. I was making a lot of profit then, but I think it would have been so much easier just because of the technology that's available now, where I wouldn't hire someone until you're just totally stretched to the point where you need to hire someone. But the reality is you probably wouldn't need to hire someone doing this up until past $30,000 to $50,000 a month. And that's just if you don't want to keep handling sales and you don't want to have to keep onboarding clients.
That's super interesting. It actually does contradict a bit, what I typically recommend to the community. It's great to see that this space is evolving so fast. So how do you when building these AI systems, how do you actually perfect them? Like, do you measure specific KPIs? Like, how do you know that your system performs as expected?
Yeah, 100%. So we're super focused on the data. Like I was saying earlier, we have dashboards that track every single KPI. So since we're so focused on getting people leads, appointments, showed appointments, and sales, that's what we're always looking at, right? Like, what is the book rate? What is the show rate? What is the conversion rate? And then we just split test if we're trying something new to compare it to what we were doing before and see if it's better or worse. And if it's better, right, we switch. And if it's worse, we don't. And we're constantly optimizing and tweaking it to try and get it to perform better and better.
I see. Data is the key in AI. I totally agree with that. I think if you don't measure your KPIs in your agentic system, it will never be able to improve. But if you do measure, I think in the future there might even be some self-improvement possibilities where the AI might actually iterate even by itself. So now you have your AI system nailed down. It consistently brings results. You have a network of clients from your partner. So what do you do next? Like, how do you actually take the solution to the moon?
So, I mean, really what I'm doing, like I said, is ultimately what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help other people do it within different industries, right? So that I can build a business combined with a bunch of other businesses that would be a lot more valuable, because I'm currently a preferred vendor with a bunch of different franchises, and I don't really have any interest in going outside of that. So I'm happy with where my business is at right now, and I just want to try and fully penetrate those industries and get these services, these AI services, integrated into their business, but then help other people do it. So I'm just going to continue doing what I've been doing, right? Building relationships with influential people within different brands, within different networks, and continue to have them do a lot of the heavy lifting for me, right? Because that's really the key to scaling an agency like this when it comes to working with brick and mortar businesses, right? Because I don't work with e-com, I don't work with online businesses. I only work with physical brick and mortar businesses. And this really works extremely well for like appointment-based businesses, right? Which there's thousands of them. There's literally multiple millions of them in America.
I think when it comes to scaling, the pricing is also extremely important because, if you're replacing like a 15-person sales team, you don't want to charge it as, like less than one sales guy. You want to charge based on results, right? So do you have any advice on how to price such a AI system?
100%. And that's a great point because you're absolutely right. You want to price it in proportion to the worth and the value, right? So we've done a lot of different pricing models over the last almost 7 years. And the one that we found to make us the most amount of money, which is difficult to pull off if you're not able to consult the client and actually show them how to sell people, but it's a performance model. So rather than charging people a retainer, we would charge people $100 per showed appointment we would generate them. But when you're charging people on a performance model like that isn't a sale, you need to make sure that the customer can close the people that you're bringing in the door, right? Because if they can and you end up charging them 10 grand and they only sign up like 2 people, they're going to cancel as a customer. But it gives you the most amount of upside because you're just charging what you're worth. You're charging based off what you're producing. Right? So since we know we're really good at getting people to show up and we're really good at coaching our clients on how to actually sell, we can do that. But when we started out, what we did is we just charged people a retainer. And when I first got into this, I was only charging $400 a month, where now I charge between $1,500 to $2,000 a month. So I was only doing $70K a month, but if I was charging people what I was charging them now, then it would have been a lot more money back then, right? But that's what I would recommend doing is if you're just starting out, to get your foot in the door and to actually start making money to allow this to snowball, you want it to be competitive in the market, right? Like, because if you're providing something that's very similar to other people, how do you differentiate yourself? It's you. The way you treat the customer, the way you work with the customer, the way you show them how much you care. That's how you're able to differentiate yourself from everyone else. But if you can have other things that make you actually different from a service standpoint, that's also how you're able to make the moat around your business bigger to the competition, right? So I think that's super important. Performance model is great.
Yeah, exactly. We also just switched to this performance results oriented model for our agency. Now, instead of, just building AI agents for you, we actually guarantee that we're going to save you more money than you invest into our service. And we just started this, but I can already see that, this is a much more appealing offer to many of our clients. So do you have also any advice on how to structure guarantees in your business? And do you personally use any guarantees for your clients?
So we don't. We don't use any guarantees. And the reason why is because we've just had bad experiences in the past where people circumvent the system, right? Where we're nurturing leads, we're getting people to show up. We used to do guarantees based off showed appointments. But what people started doing was they started marking people not as showed appointments, even though they showed up, which then made it so that we had to start contacting those leads and have a team do it to actually see if they showed up or not. And then now you're in a situation where you're arguing with the customer. So that's for my own unique situation, right? Based off the customers that I'm working with, that was something we experienced that just made it really not worth it, right? Because if you have people trying to do something like that, number one, they're not a good customer, but number two, you're setting yourself up for failure. So if you can have a guarantee that's very easy to track that they can't mess with, I don't think there's any issue with that. But when you give people the opportunity to cut corners and not really be a solid person, sometimes people will do that, right? Most people are great people, but there are some of the shitheads out there, and they do exist, and they can ruin your week, right? They can ruin your day.
Yeah, definitely. I think guarantees are not applicable in every niche. And in some niches, it can be extremely challenging to set them up, either because of the data availability or maybe because of the issues that you described. So one advice I have is if you guys are trying to set guarantees, then make sure you have in your agreement, specific eligibility criteria, because in the end, it's your service. So you define the terms. And if there is a way to structure your guarantees where it not only benefits the customer, but also makes them more committed to you, then I would definitely recommend you do this.
Yeah, that's good advice. We just like to stay away from them because it just kind of sets up the relationship in a weird way. You know, where someone's has this massive expectation. Not that we don't feel like we could get it, but you know, when you're working with somebody that is desperately trying to grow their business and maybe they don't have a lot of money, because those are some of the customers we work with. We work with a lot of gyms, and a lot of the times gyms aren't making a ton of money, right? And so if you're working with someone who's in a very difficult financial spot, people get desperate and people do crazy things when they're desperate, right? And so that's a situation where if somebody issues a chargeback on $10,000, even though you provided the services and then they win it, even though it's said in the agreement that they shouldn't, right? That's the situation that we want to avoid, which has happened to us, which is the worst situation ever, right? Because you've provided the service, you did well by them, you did right by them, but then they got their money back and you did all the work.
Yeah, I know. The chargebacks can be extremely dangerous, especially for young agencies, because they're almost never settled in the favor of the business, of the agency.
Even if you have a really defined agreement, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But I would say my advice to mitigate that is, like, you can do guarantees as long as you know you can hit them with ease, but I would just recommend staying away from them. And honestly, if you really want to see how to avoid guarantees, you could check out my YouTube channel where I have dozens of sales calls of me breaking down like live sales calls of me even selling this system without any guarantee. If you know how to properly have a conversation with people, you're not going to need to give them a guarantee. If you're very effective at sales and building value, there's no reason to even offer a guarantee because they're going to want to get started regardless at the end of it if you do a good job as a consultant and really educate them on why they need to do that and use your service.
Absolutely. I think if your service is good, if you have like that many reviews, and if you're actually providing value, then guarantees is like a cherry on top. It's not something that, you know, will prevent you from scaling to 5 million like you did. And sales are absolutely like one of those skills that can help you break through even like without having guarantees or all of the components nailed down just yet. So do you have any advice on how to actually close sales, and what's your best like framework for sales calls?
I've got some good stuff actually right here that I can share. I made this the other day, but like I said, I've got some really specific like examples of me closing people, actually like live sales calls, you know, me actually closing people. But what I'll share with you, which I haven't actually shared with anyone else, is like this diagram right here. So like when you don't have a proven process to actually close deals and you don't know what you're doing, this is kind of what it feels like, right? You're like anxious, you're stressed out, you're scared, you're worried, and it's super difficult because you don't know what you're going to say. And you don't have a plan. But when you have a proven process that you know works and you know it like the back of your hand, sales is a lot of fun because you know you're going to have a lot of success and you know exactly what to do. You're not worried about what to say because you know exactly what to say, right? And so what this is showing is this is my tracking sheet for me the last 4 months of 2024. And what this shows is the number of live calls I had and then the number of sales I got. And this is actually the number of gyms I signed up because some of these people owned multiple gyms where I signed up more of them. But if you just look at this number right here compared to this number, I closed over 51% of people, which is really high because a lot of these people are coming from cold calls or they're coming from cold ads, right? So because I have a very effective process, that's what I've been able to do. And then you were kind of asking, do I have a framework when it comes to sales? Like this is really sales broken down. So all you can think about in sales is you need to get the person's current situation and define it and make it look bad. So that's what we would call hell. And then from there, you want to get them to be super aware of that situation and the issue with it. And by doing that, you'll create a lot of tension between where they're currently at and where they want to get. And the more tension you create between those two things, the higher action potential there will be for them to change the situation they're in and ultimately go to heaven, which is leveraging your desired solution. And along the way during sales calls, what you're going to find is you need to position competitors and other options or even what they're currently doing as a stressful and complicated route to get to where they want to get, right? And if you can do that and then position yours as a very straight line and something that's very easy to do, very fun to do, it's going to be very easy for you to actually convert people because you've created the urgency by painting a vivid picture of what the bad situation actually looks like using specific numbers and specific data points. And then you'll get clear on their emotional pain and you'll get clear on what their situation actually looks like, which just builds that tension, like I was saying, to get them to actually take action to change their situation, which leaves them to choose the logical path, which is to buy your service and escape to heaven, right? But along the way, you're also going to have objections that you need to eliminate prior to actually pitching them your service so that they have no other option but to say yes, because it makes complete sense. But does that help?
Yes, this is extremely helpful. I would just like to make it a bit more practical. Can we like role play super quickly a live sales call right now between you and me? So imagine I'm a business owner. So JP, you know, I'm struggling with getting leads for my gym. I see like so many gyms in my area just being completely filled up with no spots left, while I just opened and like I have no idea how to get traction in my area. Like, can you help me?
Yeah. So what would you say is the biggest problem right now keeping you from getting people through the door? Like, what are you currently doing when it comes to getting people through the door?
So I know I just basically have a couple of billboards, around some Facebook ads, but not much else.
Okay, so you're doing a little bit of Facebook ads and you're doing some billboards. So right now, how much money are you spending on your Facebook ads?
So I'd say like, I don't know, a couple $1,000 a month.
Okay, do you know specifically how much you're spending? Because the last thing I want to do is sell you something you don't need. I need to understand your situation fully so that I can tell you exactly what the best thing to do based off your situation would be.
All right, yeah, let me check. So this is right now standing at $2,350 per month.
Okay, and what promotion are you running on that $2,350?
It's just a basic, what do you call it? I need some help here. I'm not a Facebook marketer.
Is it a 7-day? Are you running like a 7-day pass?
Yeah. Let's say I'm running a 7-day pass. Let's go.
Okay, cool. So how many leads have you generated on that 2,350?
Okay, so let's say we're generating like 15 to 25 leads per month.
Okay, so you're only generating 15 to 25 leads and you're spending $2,350?
Okay. So let's say we're spending like $2,300 and let's say we're generating like 250 leads per month.
Okay, so out of those leads, how many of them are scheduling appointments?
I think at around 150.
Okay, so you had 250 leads and 150 booked appointments. How many of them showed up for their appointment?
Around 70.
Okay, and how many of them did you sign up?
Only like 20 or 30.
Okay, so you spent almost $2,400 to sign up 20 people on a free trial.
Yeah.
Okay, are you losing money on the front end?
I guess almost. I have a pretty exclusive gym, but we're just breaking even. Let's say that.
Okay, and when these leads are coming through, because I noticed your show rate is not super great, are you guys able to follow up with these leads within 5 minutes? You and your staff?
No, absolutely not. Of course not. I don't have the people for that.
Okay. Well, do you think that's a problem?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay. Well, do you think it would make sense to probably stop wasting your money until you have a process in place that can fully nurture the leads right away so that you're not losing money on the front end?
But JP, how do I build a process if I don't have the necessary experience?
Right. Well, that's where I come in. That's why we're talking, right? You were a little bit curious about what we do as far as AI is concerned, and that's what we're going to be talking about here in a second. But I just want to fully understand what your current situation looks like right now, and it looks like your biggest problem would be lead nurturing. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And what does your process look like when it comes to generating reviews? Do you have a process for that?
So we don't even have a review process. We just like ask people sometimes if I see them at the gym.
Okay. When was the last time you got a review?
We get maybe like one review per week, maybe even less.
Okay. And how many customers do you have actively right now?
Over, I'd say 150.
Okay. So you have 150 customers and you're only getting a review a week. Do you think that represents your gym and how you guys do stuff? You said it was an exclusive one, right?
No, that's terrible for us.
Well, and what about the fact that your competitor is getting like 3 times that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely holding us back.
Right. And what happens when people see your ads right now? They're going to look your business up on the internet, right? They're going to look you up on Google. They might even look you up on ChatGPT. And if they see your competitor ranking higher than you and they go to their website, then ultimately, what are you doing? You're kind of advertising for your customer.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a problem?
I think that's a problem.
Okay. And then when you do get reviews with the customers you're getting them from right now, do you follow up and ask them for referrals?
No, of course not. How do I even do that?
Right, because you don't have time to, right? But you know you should probably be doing it, but you know you're missing out on some opportunity there as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then let me ask you this. How many leads do you have in your database of old customers or just prospects that you've accumulated over the last decade since you've been in business for over 10 years?
Yeah, I think I have over like a couple thousand leads there, maybe even more.
Okay, and do you have a process to re-engage them, to drive them back through the door that leverages AI?
No.
Okay, so do you think you're leaving opportunity on the table there?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely need to start doing that.
Okay, do you know how many calls you're missing on average a day based off the fact that you and your staff are answering the phone?
No.
So you don't even have a way of tracking it?
No.
Would you say that you guys are missing calls?
Yes.
Okay, so do you think that's a problem?
It is.
Arseny, we've got a lot of problems here, man. This is not sounding good. Let me ask you this. As far as your goals are concerned, where do you want to take the business?
I want to scale it to a network of gyms across the United States. Right now,
Okay.
I have one, I want to have 10.
So you ultimately want to turn this into a scalable model that you can rinse and repeat and multiply across the country, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, well, realistically, based off your current process, your current system and strategy, do you think you're going to be able to do that with what you're doing right now?
Probably not.
Okay, why? Why do you say that?
I don't think we have the necessary manpower to do this.
Okay, so would you say that you need to leverage AI to fill some of these holes that we've kind of talked about that are clearly glaring issues?
I wish I could.
Yeah. See, and then at that point, what I would just do from here is, since I've gone through all of this, it's clear that they want to take action. I would just transition, and then I would pitch them on my services, and this is exactly how I pitch. And then I would tie down on the fact that this is actually what they want to do at the very end, just asking, hey, just in terms of the system, how do you feel? Make sure that they're pre-sold on it. And then from there, I would just go into the close and outline exactly what the next steps look like before I actually drop the price. And then I would just let them know, look, Arseny, the investment to take you from where you're at right now with your one location to actually having a model that you can scale across the country is X. I'm not saying the price, I'm saying the investment to take you from one location to a dozen is X.
I see. So you want us to think about the returns, not about the costs.
Exactly. It's an investment.
I see. Honestly, man, when you were asking me those questions, it hurt. It like hurt in my chest because you like literally pushed on like my pain points. Like I didn't even know what to say.
Yeah, I'll show you guys one that's if you guys want to check this one out, this was a very interesting call here, but if you go to my channel and watch this sales call, this is a call where I actually sold somebody for $16,000, but he was unbelievably rude. He was extremely mean. But I slapped him around and I got him to the point to recognize that what he was doing was really bad. And he was ultimately losing money. He was just being a jerk because he didn't know me. And he thought I was some greasy sales guy. But instead of a sales guy, I was just a consultant, just like I was doing with you there. And I was just having a conversation with him about what his current situation looks like, right? That's all I was doing with you. I was just seeing what you're doing with marketing, how many leads you're getting, how many book, how many show, how many close. And then what does that process look like? Like, what are you doing when it comes to nurturing those leads? Are you following up within 5 minutes? Right? What does it look like when it comes to generating reviews? What does it look like as far as your growth? What does it look like when it comes to re-engaging old leads? Right? I was just asking you those questions to see what that actually looks like right now. How do you get reviews? How do you get referrals? How do you re-engage old customers? Right?
Yeah, what I really loved about this sales process is that you're asking me questions. You're not like, telling me, hey, like you have a problem here or there. Like you just asked me questions and then I realized like how messed up my process was and how I actually needed you to fix it.
Exactly. And that's where we go back to this, right? We want to paint a clear picture of their current situation. And that's all I was doing, is I was just trying to get clear on what your current situation looks like right now, right? You're spending $2,500 almost on ads. You're not signing up that many people. And the reason why you're not signing up a bunch of people, it's not your marketing. You got 250 leads. It's your lead nurturing, right? So I identified what the problem was, and then I painted the picture and made you realize, look, you're not going to be able to get where you want with your current strategy. right? You need my solution. That's what I would have pitched you on, which is going to completely change it and get you here where you want to get, which is multiple locations, and having a model that you know could actually scale to multiple locations independent of you, leveraging AI.
That's incredible. I mean, I definitely would have been sold. Like, I don't even have a chance, like, you know.
Sure.
And what are some of like the common objections that you get, and like how do you defeat them?
So what you want to do, right? I didn't really go over this, but what you want to do is you want to eliminate objections before you even pitch them, right? So what I mean by that is, if you think of the most common objections that people have, one of the most common ones is that they need to talk with their spouse or they need to talk with their business partner, right? So how do you eliminate that before you actually pitch them? Well, you want to ask them, do you have any business partners? Is there anyone else on the call that we need to have? And you don't need to ask them, hey, do you have any business partners? Because we need to make a decision today. I need them on here so we can make a decision. You just need to say, is there anyone else that we need on this call so that I can get an accurate understanding of exactly what your situation looks like right now? Because the last thing I want to do is not have all the data points and then tell you to do something that wouldn't be correct because I wasn't able to accurately diagnose your situation. Just like a doctor needs to have the medical records to accurately diagnose and have context around their situation and the health of the individual and the health of the business, right? So you want to eliminate that before the close.
Yeah.
And then let's say a financial objection, right? That's a common objection. I don't have the money to pay for this. But like I asked you there at the end, as far as your goals were concerned, I asked you realistically, if you don't change anything, are you going to be able to get where you want to get? And I would have asked you a lot more questions around finances to get clear on this. But if you tell me, no, I'm realistically not going to be able to get where I want to get and I'm ultimately losing money right now, then you can't afford to not make a change.
And if I say that, you know, I have to like talk to my wife or whatever, what do you actually do?
Great question. So what I'll do is I'll slice them up like I did you, and I'll build a ton of doubt. I'll make them realize that they're in absolute hell. Right? So that's what I will do is I will get them super bothered and I will get them super doubtful about what they're currently doing right now and make them realize they need to make a change. And then I stop and I say, look, this has been a good conversation. Clearly there's a lot of problems in your business, like you said. What we need to do next is get your wife on here with us so we can have the full picture. That way we don't miss anything. And then I'll be able to tell you exactly what I think we should do based off having the exact representation of what's actually going on right now. Got it?
That's super smart. So you basically, instead of pitching your solution right away, you first get the other stakeholder on the call and then...
You get them to realize they need to make a change. Once you get them to realize you're the expert and they need to make a change and they need you and you've built a ton of doubt, you don't need to pitch anything. They don't need to know what you do. They just need to know that they need to make a change.
I see. And then they're going to be like much more motivated to get their wife on the call.
Exactly. Then they're going to actually book a call and show up to the call and close on the call. Because if you don't do this, that's not going to happen. They're not going to book another call. They're not going to show up and you're going to waste your time trying to contact them and they don't want to talk to you because you haven't built the value. You haven't created doubt. You haven't painted a clear enough picture of, what hell ultimately looks like, right?
Yeah, I think this was super helpful for anyone just getting started in the space. It was like an actual live sales call. I, like, as I said, literally like felt pressure in my chest when you were asking me those questions. So
I've done it a lot, man. And I've got the whole process on my YouTube channel of me breaking it down with like live examples and going through that. So if you just rewatch those over and over again, you'll be able to really do it. And all it is the difference between asking leading questions around the solution and the problem that you solve and getting clear on how they're currently doing it so that when you break down how you do it, it just makes total sense, right? And you say it in a way where it's something they've never done before and it's different from everything they've tried in the past.
I see. So definitely, guys, check out JP's YouTube channel. And what do you have next on your roadmap?
That's it, man. That would be it. Is you really just need to pick an industry, find the people in the industry, provide a service that generates atypical results, keep innovating, use tools like yours to provide these services and make them better. Because if you're getting people atypical results within a market where there's massive demand and you innovate on it, you're going to grow crazy. You're going to have a ton of success simply by the fact that you're solving a problem tons of people are paying to get solved. You've just solved it better than everyone else. That alone right there can make you more money than you would be very surprised at how much money that can make you. But you have to pick a market that's big, where there is word of mouth and opportunity for that compounding word of mouth. If you're going after a bunch of random people in a small market, you're going to fail. You're going to fail in terms of seeing the vision and the potential of actually sticking it out to do it, because it's going to be so much more difficult than it needs to be. Right? I went into gyms because Alex Hormozi was killing it with gyms. That's the only reason why. It's not because I like working out. It's not because I like the gym, right? I wanted to make money. I wanted to change my life and change my family's life and help people, right? So I went where there was a big problem, tons of people were trying to get solved, and then I solved it better than everyone else.
And what are your future plans with this business?
So my future is just to keep scaling it and keep innovating, keep adding in AI services on that foundation of services that I already provide. And then, like I said, help people take the same system with my guidance and do it in other industries. Because I don't want to do it in any other industry but gyms. I want to find people that have the grit and determination that I once did when I got started to do it, and then give them my exact process to do it a lot faster than I did it.
Mm-hmm. And so if someone has that niche and wants to join you on your journey, where should they reach out to?
They should just go to my YouTube channel. They'll be able to find the link there. They'll be able to schedule a call with me where I can talk with them to see if they'd be a good fit or not. And if I think they are, if I think they have the time, if I think they have the determination or potentially the connections or technical understanding, then I'd be more than happy to help them and help them take my process and recreate it in another market.
And what's some final advice that you would give to someone like that?
I would say, just know, if other people are having success, there's no reason why you can't have success. I wasn't the smartest kid in school. I was a very hard-working individual, and I had high standards for myself. And I always wanted to, make a dent and do something and just make an impact, right? And change my life and make my parents happy. And I was probably the least likely person that people thought would be able to have some type of success, because I dropped out of college. I was a lifeguard. I was a security guard, and I got fired from both of those jobs. But simply with hard work and determination and looking at what other people were doing that was working and kind of modeling that and then innovating on that, I was able to have a lot of success. And there's no reason why you can't too, as long as you put the work in and you follow a proven process.
Thank you, JP. I think we have definitely achieved the goal for this video, which is to create this clear step-by-step roadmap for anyone who wants to build a fully AI-driven business just like yours. And we even squeezed in a live sales call, which is not something that I've ever done before. So thanks so much. I think this has been amazing, and good luck on your journey.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me, and it was great speaking with you, man.
Likewise, JP.